Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the series. I am Dr. Mary Powell, and we're going to talk a little bit more about research on burnout in students, in social work students, particularly those who are in field placement, and what we can do about it. I must warn you, I love to write, and I like to read what I write. I'd like to share it with people. So bear with me because I am going to be looking at notes and reading. It will not be boring. This is not boring. Okay? Not this. What I'm going to be talking about. And here we go. My first section is called Field Placement, meaning the social work internship. Isn't just stressful. It's structurally risky. Social work students enter field placement full of purpose. They want to help. They want to learn. But too often, the internship experience leaves them emotionally drained, confused about expectations, and questioning their ability to stay in the field. That is not just an individual hurdle. It's not just a developmental hurdle. It's a systemic or organizational issue. In my research, I found that burnout in social work field education is often driven by factors that have nothing to do with the person or personal resilience and everything to do with institutional design. And the biggest one, my next section, is called role ambiguity. Role ambiguity, in other words, not being clear on your role. It's when students don't know or are uncertain about what's expected of them. They're not sure what their responsibilities are. They don't know what success looks like or who's really evaluating them. And that confusion, it's not only annoying, it's harmful. In fact, in my study of over 200 social work field interns, role ambiguity was the strongest predictor or cause, in a way, of burnout. Stronger than any personal uh, characteristic, stronger than type of client caseload, stronger than support. That's a major finding, especially since the social work profession and research has long known and found that role ambiguity is associated with burnout in practicing or graduated social workers. It has been very clear in the research that role ambiguity is tied to burnout in social workers. And yet, no studies have been conducted on role ambiguity, no empirical studies. There's been discussion in articles, but no studies on role ambiguity and burnout in social work students or social work interns. Not to brag, but the one study that has been done, I'm very proud of that. And yet, field placement, the internship, is what's called the signature pedagogy of social work education. That means the very core of our training system is producing burnout conditions that we've left largely unexamined. My next section is called A Quick Refresher on Coping. Now, in the last video, I talked about how students and professionals cope with stress differently. Just a quick refresher. Practicing or graduated social workers use what's called, usually, problem-focused coping. This is changing the problem, changing the source of the stress. Like if I'm making a terrible salary, going to the boss and asking for a raise, quitting the job, talking something out in a conflict with a coworker, fixing the problem. Okay? Students, on the other hand, I found in my study, tend to use what's called emotion-focused coping, venting, feeling emotions, prayer and seeking religious comfort, emotional withdrawal, seeking sympathy from others. And here's the key. My research found that this emotion-focused style typically linked to high burnout in practicing or graduated social workers was actually linked to lower burnout in students. Why? Well, emotion focused coping is typically used when we don't feel in control of a situation. Problem focused coping is used when we do feel in control of the situation. Okay? But when you don't have power or authority in your field placement, as most students don't, changing the situation isn't always an option. So emotion focused coping might be the only realistic path. In social work research, we've said emotion focused coping is associated with burnout. So instead of labeling that style as maladaptive, we need to contextualize it as a rational survival strategy, one that reflects students' limited power in field placement. My next section is called Burnout Isn't Personal Failure, It's Systemic. This book is very intentional about shifting the narrative. We're not in this book just looking at stress as an individual problem. We're naming it as a structural outcome, the result of unpaid labor, gendered expectations, systemic ambiguity, being unclear, and normalizing exhaustion in social work culture. And yes, it falls hardest on those already experiencing oppression, students of color, first generation students, LGBTQ uh, females, students with caregiving responsibilities, chronic illness, disabilities. My next section is called Timeline or Historical Image of Social Work. This is personally, one of my favorite parts. I learned about this in my first year of doctoral education, early conflicts in the history of social work education. Early. So there is a historical piece here. Social work emerged as a profession rooted in moral duty and emotional caregiving, roles largely shaped by women and often unpaid or underpaid. These roots did not disappear. They are very much alive today. They evolved. And today, they show up in how we structure internships, unpaid, emotionally demanding, loosely defined and unclear, and too often unsupported. When students burn out in the field, and yes, they do, it's not because they're weak. It's because they're inheriting a system that hasn't reckoned with its own origins. My next section is called So What Do We Do About It? Well, that's why this book ends with concrete, evidence-based recommendations for how we move forward at the student, school, and agency levels. To students, I love you so much. To students, you have the right to ask, if you can, for clear expectations. You deserve boundaries and support. Schools, we need to stop glorifying stress. Okay? Come on, ladies. Right? Stop glorifying stress and start treating burnout like the systemic issue that it is. to agencies. Interns are not free labor. They're learners. They need clear roles. They need feedback, supervision. I have talked to students who are not receiving supervision, by the way, because of the lack of organization, all sorts of things in the system. And students deserve respect. So that's the heart of this book and the heart of this series. If you're a student feeling overwhelmed, know this: you are not alone. And more importantly, this is not your fault. You are entering a profession with a powerful mission, and you deserve a training system that reflects that power, not one that depletes it. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. I'll be back next time with a closer look at role clarity, being clear in your role, what it looks like, why it matters, and how we can demand more of it. Thanks for watching, and take good care.